to a brand new episode here on 1950's Farm. So as you can see, we're busy out with the plough today. A few things to update you on. So we came in here after the last episode and we've just levelled and straightened this out a little bit. So now it is flat, and it's filled the, there was a bit of a hole here, I don't know if you can remember, but we filled it out. In the winter time we'll come back and do a little bit more drain maintenance, I think. I'd like to smooth these out a little bit. It's a bit rough, and like I say, there's quite a few dips in here, so I'd like to smooth these out a little bit. And we've also narrowed this turn here a tiny bit to try and push the water further round, to keep it away from the field. Generally this doesn't flood, so we should be okay with doing that, as long as we keep the bottom clear so that we don't get a build up. And I might even see if the neighbour will just sort of shave a little bit off his corner and make it a tiny bit rounder rather than squarer, the same as ours. And then, as I say, once we smooth this out and then go and do the same the other side if the neighbour lets us, then we should be okay. But yeah, pretty pleased with the work that's gone on down here. As I say, it was sort of mainly holes up all over here as well. So yeah, we've done very well. As you can see, we sprayed Roundup on the grass that we scythed down the bushes on. As I say, we sprayed the grass with Roundup, and that's died off and is now fairly easy to plough. And the other update is that back in 1951, now this isn't quite the same model as what the dairy farm bought. The dairy farm bought a 55 John Deere plough. It was John Deere's first major attempt at building bigger farm equipment. Now, they built this plough with the sole intention of their crawler that would come out. It was either late 1951, early 1952. I can't really sort of find no definitive date on that. But this plough, although this one has got one too many furrows, but it was the nearest that I could find to the actual real model. This plough was built specifically to go on the back of their crawler tractor. And the dairy bought it, and it turned out that their John Deere A's were not big enough to pull the original plough that they had. However, Harry's Ford N was. It was only just powerful enough to pull it. I mean, in game, this tractor pulls this plough absolutely no trouble at all. In real life, I'm told that the tractor was just about big enough to pull the plough, say it had a furrow less. But the dairy went on later, when the crawler was released, and bought the crawler to put onto the plough. And that was how then for I think briefly in the 80s they said that they went away from track tractors and went back to wheel tractors ploughing. But the reason that John Deere made the plough as big as what they did was they wanted to demonstrate how much traction their crawlers could get over wheel tractors, and how much cleaner the land was. Now, I mean, they were making these claims in 1950 sort of 1/52, and that may well have been the case. As someone that lives in the modern day who has experienced driving a tractor that's got metal tracks, it rips the land to pieces. Exceptional in the wet, I will say that. Exceptional in the wet. When it was wet, and I mean really wet, I was still able to plough. But that really was about as far as the advantages went, because, as I say, in the dry you used to dig at the corners, at the ends of the field where you used to turn round. It used to dig the land something terrible and make a horrible mess of it. And I do speak from sort of experience, because back in the 1980s, and my granddad, who worked on the farm that eventually I would work on, had a track Marshall 55 and a 6 furrow Daswell reversible plow with a yellow mobile diesel tank, and it was pulled on the back of the farm's 995 David Brown on a flatbed wooden trailer that had wooden planks for ramps, or railway sleepers. Really, that's more what they were rather than planks. But yeah, so it was a heck of a setup in the 80s, and as I say, my granddad was chief ploughman on the farm, and that was what he used. And many years later, I went on to work for the same farm, or the same company, because back when my granddad worked there, it was owned by Fred Rose, the Rose family, and the other farm was owned by Fred Hoyles, and they were related. I don't really know how they were related, but they were related, and the farm that my granddad worked on got into a bit of trouble, and they decided between them that they would merge the two farms together, which made sort of one big farm. And it also meant that they had, like, I think it's about 1,000 to 1,500 acres, and they still farm that today. As I say, I went there in 2007, I think I went there, and one day, the thing was, I was always down at the main farm. That was, that was where I worked, sort of thing. That was who I worked for. I was always down at what was originally Fred Oils' farm, and it was I remember it quite well. It was a wet sort of late spring day, and the disc arrows were in need of repair. We'll say that they had a bearing that had gone in the wheel. Some discs needed replacing. Some of the scrapers on the discs, they needed replacing. They'd worn down to virtually nothing. And the boss said to me, go down to Coalhouse Farm, it was called. Go down there, fix the disc arrow in the workshop. I've left all the bits there. It's all laid out. It's all ready for you just to fix. And I went down there. It was one Thursday. I say raining, a wet day. So it's a wet day job, and hadn't really forgotten about my granddad's crawler, because when I was a kid, Granddad used to plough the field behind the house where I grew up, and I used to ride virtually the whole time he was in that field, and it's like a 38 acre field. So he was in there quite a long time with an old track Marshall 55 and a 6 furrow Daswell plough, and he was in there, as I say, quite a while, and I would ride up and down, and like you'd be shaken to pieces on it, and I'd get in bed that night, and my tummy would still be sort of rocking and rumbling up and down with the vibrations and everything. I loved it, absolutely loved it. Easily the best time of my life, and I've had some pretty good times in my life, but easily the thing that I love the most. Anyway, I went into the shed, and who I worked with, a guy called John, he said to me, he goes, "Are you going down to Relic Farm, are you?" And I said, "Relic Farm?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "When you get in that workshop, mate," he said, it's like going back into the 1970s and 80s. And I sort of thought, well, I'm sure it can't be that bad. And when I went into the workshop, yeah, it was a trip back in time, back to my childhood, really. And I was sort of working away and what have you, and because I got to thinking, I was like, I'd seen the Daswell at the back of the shed, and I thought, oh, there's Granddad's plough, but I don't know, it just sort of didn't occur to me, like, that the crawler might be in there. And anyway, I was sort of fixing the disc arrows, and sort of lunchtime was coming around, and the boss came down to sort of see me and to see how I was getting on, and he said to me, he goes, "Cool, I bet that brings back some memories, doesn't it?" And I said, "What's that?" And he said, "Your granddad's crawler." And I said, "Oh, where's that then?" And he said, "At the back of the shed, look." He said, "Look, underneath all the tarpaulin." And there it was, sat there in its majestic glory. Hadn't been used since, I was told, the early 90s, because my granddad sadly passed away in 1992, and the last year that it was used fully for ploughing was 1993. But the guy who I worked with, John, who worked there at the time, refused to drive it. Just said, like, no, it's, I'm not driving that. It's it's not good. And so they ended up buying him sort of a fairly big wheel tractor and a bigger Dowdeswell as well. They bought him an 8 furrow Dowdeswell, and that's sort of what the farm used thereafter. And I went over with the boss and we had a look at it, and I pulled on. I said, "You know what?" I said, "It would make my absolute life if you and your dad," because it was those two that ran the farm then. I said, "If you and your dad would let me plough one field the old way." I said, "With the 885, the yellow diesel Bowser." I said, like, and I said, honestly, I said, that would mean the world to me if you would let me do that. And he said, "If you can get it going, we'll let you do it." And I'm not a mechanic, right? Workshop work is not my thing. I'm a tractor driver, and that's all it is. And when I eventually moved from that farm on to another farm, to Proctor's, Adrian, the farm manager, I said to him when I went for my interview, I said, "Look, I don't do workshop." I said, "I'm going to tell you this now." I said, "Because then we're not under no false pretenses. I don't do workshop. I drive tractors. That's what I do. I plough. That's what I do. That's my job." I said, like, I'm really good at it, and I don't do fixing. I've got no interest in it. Blah 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 blah. And luckily they said, "Well, it's okay. You're not expected to do that here. We've got our own engineers that do that," which was fine and suited me down to the ground. So I was quite happy with that. Anyway, gets the discs done, has a look at it, and for the next year, if I finished work early, whether it was raining or in the winter time or whatever, I'd, for an hour, and the weekends and sort of after work, and any time I got was working on the crawler. I say, not a mechanic, didn't know the first thing about it. Was lucky that the boss kind of took it upon himself to sort of help me out. I think probably realised that me alone was never going to get it going, and between the two of us, a year later, we managed to get it going. And the David Browns worked anyway, because we did occasionally use them for hoeing sugar beet, because obviously the tractors were small, the wheels were really narrow, and they were ideal for hoeing sugar beet. And we had two hoes, and me and John used to go out and do the say hoeing the sugar beet. And it was quite nice, because people in the village, they'd come out, two, sort of 885 David Browns, in a field, sort of farming the old-fashioned way, and people enjoy the nostalgia and different things like that, and so it was good. But yeah, that summer of 2009, I think it was. It was either 2009 or 2010. I got to relive that sort of dream, if you like, of, as I say, taking the 885 with the little wooden flat bed trailer, the sleepers to get the crawler on, the little diesel tank, and we went to the field behind my parents' house where I grew up, because that was where I used to always ride the crawler with my granddad. And yeah, we went into that field, and as I say, it's 38 acres. It took me near enough 3 days to plough, which is the longest I think any field's ever taken me to plough. And yeah, it was just brilliant. And as I say, sadly my granddad wasn't alive to see it, but my nan was, and the farm went and fetched my nan and brought her down to sort of see it all in action. And you know, she you know, was over the moon. So yeah, it was good memories. And as I say, you know, back in the 1950s, John Deere wanted to sort of kind of show the pulling power of their crawler, and hence they built a plough that had gone away from the traditional you know, sort of two bottom plough on the back of a John Deere A or whatever. You know, and suddenly John Deere had upped the ante by making a 5-furrow plough on the back of this tractor, and you know, people didn't trust them. You know, again, you know, and it's in today's world, you know, we embrace new things, new ideas, you know, and we were like, yeah, we'll try it, you know. But back then, you know, people didn't trust them. You know, they didn't. How could, you know, 5-furrows, you know, possibly be reliable, or, you know, etc., etc. How can tracks possibly be, you know? And it took John Deere, you know, they, on their own website, they say that it took, you know, 2 or 3 years before people began to sort of go, oh, actually, we, it may well be that we do need to go that way. And, you know, some of the bigger farms sort of, I guess, you know, the dairy farm, even, you know, from what I read about them, they, like Harry, embraced things quite quickly. And I guess that because any big farm or business, I think one of the things they do better than farms that, and any other businesses, I'm not just singling farming out here, but is they embrace new ideas. They move forwards all the time. You know, they're not wanting to stand still, you know, and tradition, and you know, and they move forward. And you know, that's what the dairy did. You know, they invested heavily, as I say, in a John Deere crawler, in the plough. This then led John Deere to start thinking, well, hang on a minute, you know, and drills were going to start to slowly get a bit bigger. Cultivators were going to start to get a bit bigger, so they were going to go from sort of 2, you know, anywhere from 1.5 meters to, you know, up to sort of 4 to 5 meters, and you know, seed drills and planters would quickly follow suit, and it's that sort of kind of snowball effect that once it did catch on, once people did kind of realize what actually was possible, and what was, oh dear, I've messed the end up there. Oh dear, oh dear. That's a bit, oh dear. Methinks I may have lost me mark at the end of that field. Oh well, we'll try and straighten it out if we can. But yeah, as I say, it started to show what was possible, and that snowball effect. And suddenly, you know, I think that's, for me, from what I'm reading, from, you know, sort of what I'm researching, and different things, that the mid 50s, the late 50s, and the early 60s just saw farming move so fast. You know, the world's population was suddenly beginning to regrow again. You know, that by the 70s, you know, farms had the workforce. You know, but by that point, they didn't need the workforce as much, because obviously, you know, the machinery was, you know, sort of moving on, and yeah, it's a very fascinating time of the year. Anyway, I have rabbited on way too long, and I'm sure you've all turned off and switched off and got bored and gone and pulled your nails out, and for that I apologise. I do like to reminisce sometimes, and as I say, when I'm finding sort of things out, and what have you, and you know, about farming, because I just love farming, so you know, I like to share. But anyway, I'm going to leave you with some lovely music, and I will see you all at the end of the video when I do my outro. So I'll see you then. Bye for now. So I hope you've enjoyed the music. As you've just seen, we've basically just cracked on with this ploughing, but the day is beginning to run short now, and it's not going to be long before I'm going to have to pack up for the day and go home for my tea, I guess. But yeah, so one thing I forgot to mention in the intro was that the John Deere the crawler that John Deere brought out in, as I say, I think it was late 51, early 52. The game doesn't mod, or there is not a mod for the game. I've searched endlessly the last few days, and I can't find one. I can find one for 17, 19, 15, all the way back, but I can't find one for 2022. So I will be keeping the plough just because it's in keeping with what was happening. In terms of the crawler, I don't know whether to go quite with another crawler, so that kind of models the John Deere. So there's a Fatiga, is it, or Fiat or something like that, crawler that kind of models the John Deere crawler. There's also a yellow one as well, which I forget the name of now, but that I found the other day, and that again is fairly similar, but I can't find one that I can colour, because if I could colour it and colour the tracks, then I could obviously just colour it John Deere, and that would be a job. But so I don't know what to do in regards to that, because as I say, this tractor does pull it, and this tractor does pull this plough very, very easily. I have noticed that when it gets to the hills, this tractor is able to be pulled by this plough one way or t'other, but other than that, it's been absolutely fine. And apart from the last lands that I did, I have been able to keep it relatively straight, so it's not too bad. So I'm kind of happy with it. I mean, it's not perfect because it's not what happened, but at the end of the day, I can only do what the game allows me to do, and I can only do what mods then allow me to do. And as I say, the John Deere crawler isn't modded in 2022, or FS22 as I should have said. So it kind of leaves me with, what do I do? Do I just go with another brand and sort of say, well, yeah, this isn't it, but it's similar to what they had, or do I just not do it at all? I'm sort of a bit torn. I mean, if you guys have got any sort of ideas, suggestions, or just want to tell me what you think in the comments, that would be great, because it would really help me decide what I should do. But yeah, as I say, we've just been busy ploughing, and to be fair, actually, we are rapidly motoring across this field. John Deere are onto something with bigger implements. That's what I think. Because when I sort of faced and originally I did start this field with the little 3 furrow plough, and then I was sort of doing some more reading about Harry and his family and what have you, and yeah, I just literally happened to stumble across it. It was a case of Harry mentioning that the dairy had bought this John Deere 55 plough, and it was kind of like, ooh, have we got a model of that? And then it was like, no, okay, so what does one look like? And sort of Google imaged it, and it was like, oh, well, actually, I've seen a plough very similar to that. As I say, this has got one furrow more than what the original had, and it's not the same model number either. But it fairly represents the plough that he bought. And as I say, Harry then went on to talk about the crawler and the fact that he got to use it for, I think, 1 or 2 years before he left the dairy. And yeah, so as I say, it was all very interesting, but it's just, what do I do in terms of the save? Because I want to keep this authentic. I want to keep this as authentic as possible. Yes, it's a computer game. Yes, there are parameters that possibly, because of the game and because of the game's limitations, maybe need to be moved a little bit. But machinery wise, I don't want to stray too far. I don't want to stray too far, but you know, we'll sort of see what happens. As I say, if you guys want to you know, have an input, have a say, then I'd be delighted to not only listen, but and to read your thoughts and everything. But you know, maybe we might be able to implement a few of them. As people that know that have commented on my videos, I do answer every comment. I do read every comment. I reply to everyone. Blimey, that's a straight line. I do reply to everyone, and you know, so I'm more than happy and love receiving the feedback. You know, good or bad. You know, I mean, touch wood, yet I haven't had any negative, but you know, I'm sure it's going to come someday. Um, but you know, that's how I improve, and that's how these videos evolve, and how the channel grows. As I said before, you know, I'm fairly thick-skinned when it comes to all that, you know, and so but you know, keep the praise coming, because everyone loves praise, right? Anyway, it is the day of recording this is May the 1st. Yeah, I'm a little bit behind my schedule. I've been to the Crucible a few days this week, and it just means that I've got a touch behind on my recording schedule, but it's no biggie. As I say, the Crucible comes around but once a year, and I do love the experience. But and any snooker fans out there, what do you make of Barry Hearn's thoughts about leaving the Crucible? You know, that's a discussion that maybe needs to be had through players and officials and fans alike. But yeah, so anyway, that's why I'm a bit behind. But I say it's May the 1st today, so the target for May the 1st was 125 subscribers. As of recording this, and I haven't looked since I've started recording, I was on 260, which is just incredible. It's an absolutely amazing achievement. So June the 1st, 275. And I've kind of set it a bit lower because the channel over the last sort of week or so has slowed down a little bit. So I'm not sure whether that's me or whether that's just life or quite what. I don't know, but so I've sort of set it realistic, because originally I was going to say 300. But we'll go with 275. Yeah, 275, and we'll see where we go from there. But as I say, if you haven't already, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, because it really does help the channel, and also it does help me to meet my targets and achievements, and keep this wonderful experience that I'm having doing YouTube, and you know, hopefully you're really enjoying the videos too, you know, as much as what I enjoy recording them. But anyway, without too much waffling, it's time to end this video, and it's time to say that I've really enjoyed having you watching me play Farming Simulator today. It's always a pleasure to have your company, and I hope you'll join me again next time. Bye for now.